you've been working a lot? A lot of parties?
A lot of parties and a lot of writing. And I
That's
have
awesome.
a book that I have to have the manuscript done for.
Really?
By October.
Coming from your writings from when you were a kid? Oh, that's so awesome.
Not from when I was younger. Oh crap, I forgot.
Ready? Yeah. Okay. So can you talk about what your style says about you?
I know that there are certain outfits that I will wear that I just like to wear them, but someone might see me and think that I'm sort of just like hoochie, sort of around the way girl. And I think I'm often misunderstood. Being female-bodied and putting yourself out there in a way that's sexual in an urban environment is oftentimes just taken as on the lower end of things. Maybe there's daddy issues, maybe you just like want sexual attention for some sort of like need that you're not aware of, all the way to men feeling entitled to sort of like assume that you're like a sex worker. If I have a friend who's doing a show or an opening and I go to their opening, there's something that translates to that audience, but I could go from there, you know, and if I'm going to like a museum on like the Upper West Side, immediately I'm put back into this space of just like the black girl, and like they might not process what that means. And I don't think you should have to understand an aesthetic to get it. Like for me, anyone who's wearing anything I'm accepting of, but I'm very conscious that that's not the case for what's going on around me.
Can you talk about ways in which you express yourself and your individuality and your identity in ways that are other than clothing that mean a lot to you?
I write a lot. Sometimes I write out of anger. I think for a while I think that's probably the easiest when I'm frustrated. When I'm happy, I don't feel compelled to like put it out there because I like that feeling. Versus frustration, anger, indignance, anxiety are things that like you sort of want to get, like I don't want to be anxious. It naturally fits with sort of creative expression because it's a way to sort of put it out there. Earlier on in my transition, it was sort of like I felt like I was in between either being ostracized for who I was or being overly sexualized in a way that like I didn't at all want. I had no control. Gender makes people feel very uncomfortable, and especially someone in my position, like I'm already visible just as a black person in the world. Oftentimes in ways that don't fit with people's stereotypes of what being black is. So that's just like a starting point. On top of that, navigating the world of people thinking my choice to present myself erupted the foundations of their, you know, provincial minds, caused a lot of public shaming, ostracizing, sexual harassment. Any range of possible aggression that someone could project into a gendered idea, I dealt with. It happens less now. Like, I don't stand out on the street as like, no. And I think this sort of surface of femininity makes it a lot easier, and the more feminine I become makes it easier for those ideas to translate.
Would you say is the biggest insecurity that you've had to overcome?
When I hit puberty, I dealt with a lot of, you know, people made fun of me, like I grew like breasts, sort of got hips in a way that like wasn't supposed to be really natural for boys, and I got very made fun of for that. And so it's like, I think when I got to college, I was just like a ball of just insecurities related to my body. Like I wore a chest binder through college because I wanted to just like have like a normal flat chest. This is when I was trying to force myself to be more boyish. When we would go out, I would always like check my back. If we were at a show or a concert, I would like feel my back, and people would ask me, and I was like, oh, I just want to make sure that no one's sticking a sign on my back. When I was in junior high, people would like put signs on my back, stick things in my hair. People would shout things at me about my body. I was like birthing hips, any range of faggot, nigger, titty boy, whatever. There's like any range of things related to race and body. It wasn't really until I moved to New York that just naturally being here, I shed all of that slowly but surely. All of those have come off, and I still deal with that, but I like myself now. I love myself.
What would you say has been your happiest moment? Maybe your greatest achievement. What's been your greatest achievement?
5th grade me would have looked to me now and been shocked and wouldn't have believed that. Really sad, chubby, socially isolated, writing in journals and reading, spending all of my time alone. 5th grade me would be happy to see where I am now.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
One of the most vulnerable times I've ever felt in my life. There was a technical malfunction on the train. Of course, the train broke. And I was in a car. There was like a few older men, and then these younger boys are sitting across from me. And they had sort of been like cracking jokes, you know. I just tried to ignore them, and I was reading a book, and then somehow 2 of them turned into like 5 of them. And I was surrounded by them on a train, just like making fun of me, like explicitly, and then it just like escalated as things with stupid teenage boys often do, and it turned into like them describing all the ways that they could kill me, slicing my throat open and then jumping out of the train, and I sat there just like dripping in sweat. I was like terrified. I don't think I've ever felt, even when I've been mugged at gun and knife point before, and even that was sort of just like a flash. Like, I think that was probably the most vulnerable I've ever felt. I was really shocked. All of the older men on the train got up and stood up in front of me and physically formed a wall between me and all of the boys that were there. It was one of the times where I felt the most vulnerable, and immediately after I felt the most like safe.
Okay, last question. Can you talk about why in your body is a good place to be?
I've taken a lot of very intentional steps. I used to hate my body for so long. I hated it. There were so many times I like didn't understand it at all, and I felt like it was working against me actively. I felt exposed, but I'm really happy where I am now. I think it gave me a natural sort of lens or like way of understanding that most people's idea of like nature or normality is completely and totally skewed, and what is seen as natural, unnatural, what decisions people make to augment their body, whether or not that reflects or is tied to something in nature. I think my body naturally taught me that that's definitely not the case, and that people's ideas of nature are often completely unfounded.
Totally. It's like amazing. That's like what I want everyone to hear from us. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so that was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm gonna take photos of you now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Sorry.